Hello from Toronto. My name is John Keogh, and welcome to a new series of the Future of Food 10 by 10 Expert Series. In this series, I'll talk with 10 experts across the 5 pillars of the food system to get their perspectives on the opportunities and the challenges in the food industry globally. And today I'm delighted to have with me Denis Treacy from the UK. Hello, Denis.
Good morning, John. Hi.
Denis, let's get straight into it. The 10 minutes goes very quickly. In 1 minute or so, what is the elevator pitch for Denis Treacy, and what kind of services do you offer to the market?
Okay, so they're right behind me. I have brought my 40 years of food supply chain experience into 3 offerings. Zero defect is, as it says, the obsession with driving to help and support businesses to be consistent. Navigator is about step changing performance with individuals, people, and organisations, and Goya is cultural change, the biggest step change for me that you can have in your ability to manage your own expectations.
Wonderful. Denis, in your 40 years of experience in the food industry, what do you perceive as the key challenges that the food industry is dealing with worldwide?
Well, the globalisation of the supply chain, certainly an experience of mine. Taking supply chains across the world, the further you go, the more you stretch your resources, the more vulnerable you are. And there's examples of that for sure. The other one is continued reliance upon auditing. I have a view and a concern that supply chains and food manufacturers are increasingly reliant upon the outcome of audits, and they're losing the capability to risk assess internally. And the final one is, I think, as we come out of this pandemic, food businesses are looking at the structure of their businesses. They're looking at refinancing, they're looking to be more profitable, and I have a concern that perhaps we're going to lose some technical resources as a result of that and rely more and more on service providers.
Gotcha. Now I'll mine into one or two of those as we go along in the discussion this morning, Denis. But so in when you take all of those challenges, now what do you see as the key opportunities that the food industry has today?
Well, they're the opportunities that I generated for myself and in my businesses, and that is, positive business culture. I genuinely do believe that if you manage your business in a positive way, you'll see opportunities, you'll be able to generate opportunities for yourself. Another one for me is purpose. It's absolutely critical for a business to understand its purpose in the world. The CEO of L'Oreal said, "I don't make lipstick, I sell hope." And that absolutely nails for me the reason for being. And if a business understands that, then it generally can muster all of its resources behind that. And the third one I passionately believe in is relationships. Relationships with your suppliers, relationships with your customers, relationships with your employees. You can get people to promote your business by operating in the right way.
Nice. I like that one around relationships. I think it's very, very important. So you mentioned that supply chain is a challenge. Can you give an example based on your experience?
Well, let's use everyone's experience of the global pandemic that we're still in the midst of, John, and the impact that has had on the global supply chain, on people's ability or businesses' ability to source materials, to have to really think about how they do business and the means by which they manage their supply chains going forward. It's the biggest impact, and I think the biggest impact for years to come.
And Denis, you mentioned that relationships is a key opportunities, but how would an organization approach building stronger relationships with their suppliers and with their business partners?
It all comes down to the positive culture of a business, that its purpose and the way it interacts. But I think for me, the one example I would give is what I used to call, or what I still do call, strategic material teams. Having a collaborative team together, working with suppliers to understand their needs, understand your needs, so that everyone understands the process. And there you can work on open agendas like cost reduction programs, innovation, and when the challenges come, you face them together.
Gotcha. Now, Denis, you mentioned also at the start in the key challenges a reliance on auditing. Can we mine into that for a little bit? And what do you see as the issues there, the challenges with with auditing?
Okay, so in particular in the UK, I saw my own manufacturing locations become obsessed with audits, become obsessed. So the whole QA function, a technical function, were literally an audit ready team waiting for the next audit and focusing their energy and activities on closing out the actions from the last audit. You know, I was visibly seeing my teams less and less capable of managing risks for themselves. So when they're waiting for an audit and the MPT team are throwing another new product down the line, no one's looking at what's going on, no one's prepared for it, and you end up going from new product launch straight to recall, John.
That's unfortunate. You know, I had a conversation recently with an expert who came from pharma into the food industry,
Yeah, yeah,
and one of his first tasks was to interview 40, I believe it was 40 quality managers. And it turns out
saw that.
his summary of those 40 interviews was that not many of them were working on food quality. They were all working on compliance and checking the boxes, auditing, in fact. Is that what you saw?
Well, and reorganization, redesign of organization, looking at resources. You know, I mapped 9 or 10 projects one year, and 8 of them were cost reduction programs. 2 of them were actually developments of quality systems or integrated management systems, or, you know, the development of people to be able to manage and drive more predictable outcomes. As I said, 8 out of 10 were cost reduction.
Gotcha. Now, Dennis, in your corporate life, you've had teams all over the world. Is there
Yeah.
a secret to success in managing teams across different cultures?
Yeah, well, there is, because what I do is I don't necessarily think about the regional geographic culture. What I think about is the culture I want to envisage or develop within my team. So we create our own culture. So whether you're an Arab an American or a European or a Turk, you know, the culture that we set as a group, the culture that we set as a team is the culture that transcends all of that. So for me, it's about behaviours. It's about energizing a team behind a single purpose and giving people a motivation and taking things and treating things like an adventure rather than a challenge.
Gotcha. Now, Dennis, you're in your first day with an engagement with a new client. How do you approach that?
Well, first of all, understanding the client, understanding the business, understanding the dynamics. What's the internal challenges that the client's got? Because you might not be, sometimes you might not be able to fix the problems. If the business doesn't want to fix the problems doesn't want to fix the problems, then you can't do that for them. So first thing I would do is I'd define what the purpose of the business is. You know, I'd understand what the mission statement and the strategy is, and then I'd look at the relationship between them and their employees before I can determine whether a business actually can be helped or not.
Now, that's very, very important. So, Dennis, in the last minute or so, if you were up in front of 50 CEOs, new startups in the food industry, what guidance would you give those executives?
Okay, so for me, success is based around what I call my 4 energies. Strategy. What is your strategy? What's your purpose? What's your mission? And does everything revolve around that? The second thing is performance. What are you going to measure? How are you going to measure it? And what in particular do you decide is good or bad performance? The third thing is organization, John. You know, have you got the structure in place? Have you got the capabilities and competencies within your organization and the right authorities and decision-making thresholds? And the final one is culture. And for me, that is how you behave towards each other, how you communicate, how you motivate, how you reward each other, and what your whole sense of being is. So those are the 3 things for me. You know, define your purpose, I suppose. What's your mission statement, and how do you intend to conduct business?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. There you have it. Denis Treacy from Culture Compass Limited in the UK. Thank you so much, Dennis, for sharing your 40 years of wisdom with us in this short 10
My
minutes.
pleasure. My
Thank you so
pleasure,
much.
John.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.